When I was a kid, my mother looked me in the eyes and told my father she wished he was dead. Years later, she stole my identity, racked up thousands in debt under my name, and laughed while my life crumbled. But what she didn't know was that I was going to make sure she lost everything and that she'd never get it back. If you've ever dreamed of watching karma hit like a freight train, you're in for one of the most satisfying revenge stories you'll hear this year. So hit that like button, subscribe, and let's dive in. I grew up in a home where family was just a word, not a feeling. When I was too young to even process what marriage meant, I learned my mother was capable of cruelty that still stings to this day. It was my older brother who told me about the first time my dad realized what kind of person she really was. Dad was serving in the army during Desert Storm. He managed to get rare leave, a precious break from war, so he could surprise Mom on their anniversary. He knocks on the door, smiling, probably picturing a tearful reunion. Instead, she looks him dead in the eye and says, "Why aren't you dead?" "I need the money." And then, like something out of a bad movie, her new boyfriend backs my dad's prized Mustang Cobra out of the garage. That was her. Cold, calculated, unapologetic. The divorce was ugly. Predictably, she got custody of me. For a while, Dad managed to get me for visits. But after he remarried, things took another turn. My new stepmother? She wasn't a villain in a fairy tale. She was worse. My stepsisters got lavish Easter baskets stuffed with chocolates and toys. Me? I got an old soup can with my name painted on it. For pencils. She eventually convinced my dad to send me back to my mom, and that's when my real nightmare began. The house was cramped. My sisters had a room. Mom and her new husband had a room. My brother had the whole basement. And me? My room was so small I could touch both walls at the same time. My door? Just a curtain. I had nothing. No privacy, no love, no freedom. At school, I was one of the only white kids and I got jumped for it more times than I can count. At home, I was free labor, shoveling snow, mowing lawns, raking leaves. And when I wasn't doing chores, she rented me out to the neighbors to do theirs and pocketed the cash herself. When I wasn't working, I was grounded until she felt like ungrounding me. Translation: 6 years of sitting in that tiny room unless I was at school or working for her. I didn't know it then, but Mom was also extorting my dad. $3,000 for a school photo. $12,000 just so I could visit for a week. All while Dad was paying $700 a month in child support and sending birthday and Christmas presents that I never saw. She pawned every single one. One time, Dad bought me a brand new Game Boy Color. I barely had time to touch it before she said, "You're grounded," and took it away. Days later, it was gone. Pawned like everything else. And if I dared make a mistake, like putting dishes away while they were still a little damp, she'd hit me. Meanwhile, my sisters were in private school drowning in new toys. Mom even took custody of my grandfather, who was paralyzed from the waist down, just so she could get power of attorney. She drained his bank account, stole his pain meds, and gave them to my brother to sell. By my junior year of high school, I had had enough. Working in the library gave me access to something she didn't control: email. I reached out to Dad. We came up with a plan. 2 days before graduation, Mom threw herself into planning a huge party. All her friends, none of mine. She spent thousands and made me cook most of it. 2 hours before the party, a truck pulled up outside. It was Dad. I let him in. He looked around and asked, "Where is she?" I pointed to the couch where she was lying. He took one look and said, "I'll wait in the car." I started packing. Everything I owned fit in one garbage bag. That's when she realized who was outside. She lost it. Bribes. Lies. Standing in my way. NASCAR tickets I didn't want. Nothing worked. I walked out, got in the truck, and we drove away. Halfway down the street, Dad pulled over, laughing so hard he couldn't drive. When I asked why, he said in his Texan drawl, "Boy, when I was a kid, I always wanted to marry a movie star." I just didn't think it'd be Jabba the Hutt. From my sister-in-law, I got updates. The party? Ruined. Her pride? Gone. Her finances? In free fall. Without me, Dad stopped sending money. Bills piled up. She had to pawn her jewelry, pull my sisters out of private school, and sell one of her cars. And every time she called me for help, I said the word she hated most. No. I joined the Navy, ready to start fresh. My job required top-secret clearance, which meant a deep background check. That's when the bomb dropped. I was in debt for a mortgage I never signed. I was supposedly collecting Social Security, and I owed thousands to a power company and on credit cards I never opened. She had stolen my identity. My own mother. When I finished training, I told my chief. She arranged a temporary assignment back in my hometown, conveniently on the Navy's dime. Step 1. I filed a police report. Every fraudulent account, every debt. I cleared my name and redirected every collection agency straight to her. Step 2. I went to the Social Security office in uniform. The clerk pulled up my account, and there it was. My mother had claimed I was permanently disabled, unable to sign for myself, and had been cashing my checks for years. The clerk read that line slower and slower, staring at me in full Navy uniform. I smiled. The case was opened immediately. The investigation moved fast, because now it wasn't just me she'd stolen from. It was the U.S. government. By the time they came for her, she'd already skipped town. Warrants went out. She's still on the run. 10 years later, I left the service and started an amazing new job. My brother told her I was successful. And like clockwork, she popped up on Facebook, asking for money for a doctor. I told her, prison gives free medical care. Her sisters found out what she'd done to me. She was cut out of every will, including my grandmother's. Now, she's drowning in debt. No family, no job, fraud convictions, warrants, and just to top it off, I got a $20,000 check from the government, the same amount they garnished from my paychecks because of what she stole. She owes that to Uncle Sam now. After years of living under her thumb, after years of being her prisoner, her labor, her punching bag, she's the one trapped now, by debt, by the law, by her own greed, and I'm free. Sometimes karma takes its time, and sometimes it needs a little push, but when it finally hits, it's worth every second of the wait. If that payoff felt as good to you as it did to me, smash that like button. Tell me in the comments the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen, and don't forget to subscribe, because I've got more real-life justice stories you won't want to miss.